Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different realities? One person sees opportunity while the other sees disaster. One feels energized while the other feels drained. One moves forward while the other stays stuck. What if I told you that the difference has nothing to do with the situation itself? You've probably sensed this before. Those moments when you realized your biggest problem wasn't what was happening, but how you were seeing what was happening. That awareness you just felt, that's not confusion. That's you getting ready to understand something that changes everything. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how reality actually works and why understanding this makes every struggle you're facing right now optional. You'll discover the mechanism that's been running your entire life without your permission. And the moment you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't philosophy. This is how your mind constructs what you call reality. Here's what nobody tells you. Reality isn't something that happens to you. It's something you're actively creating every single second through a process you don't even realize is happening. Think about the last time someone said something to you that felt harsh. What actually happened? Words came out of their mouth. That's the raw data. But immediately, your mind added layers to those simple words. They meant to hurt me. They don't care about me. I'm not respected. Nothing I do matters. This relationship is broken. Notice how quickly a few words became an entire story about your worth, their intentions, and your future. That's not reality. That's your mind layering meaning onto reality. This happens because your brain isn't designed to see what's actually there. It's designed to interpret what's there based on your past experiences, beliefs, and emotional state. Every single experience you have gets filtered through these layers before it reaches your awareness, which means you've never actually experienced reality directly. You've only ever experienced your interpretation of reality. And here's where it gets interesting. If reality is something your mind is constructing, that means you can change your reality without changing a single external circumstance. You just have to understand the mechanism. If you're still here, you already sense that something about how you've been seeing the world isn't quite right. Most people never question their perception. They assume what they see is what's real. But you're different. You're willing to look deeper. What I'm about to share next will show you exactly how your mind builds your reality. If this is resonating with you, please subscribe. Here's what's actually happening when you experience anything. Your reality gets built in 3 distinct steps, and understanding these steps changes everything. Step 1 is the trigger. Something happens in the physical world. A message arrives. Someone looks at you a certain way. Plans change. A memory surfaces. This is just raw information entering your awareness. No meaning attached yet. No emotion loaded into it yet. Just a thing that occurred in space and time. The trigger itself is completely neutral until your mind does something with it. Step 2 is the filter. This is where your brain runs that trigger through everything you've learned about what things like this mean. It scans your entire history, every similar experience you've ever had, every lesson you absorbed from people around you, every conclusion you drew about how the world works. This happens in milliseconds, completely automatic, running in the background without your conscious awareness. The filter decides whether this trigger is safe or dangerous, good or bad, about you or not about you. It assigns meaning, creates context, and determines what this moment says about your life. Step 3 is the response. Based on what the filter decided, your entire body and mind react accordingly. Your heart races or stays calm. Your thoughts spiral into worry or stay clear and focused. You shut down and pull away, or open up and move closer. You fight back or retreat into silence. Every feeling you have, every action you take, comes from what the filter told you this trigger means. Most people think step 1 creates step 3 directly. They believe the trigger causes the response, that the event itself makes them feel a certain way. But it doesn't. The filter creates the response. The meaning you've assigned creates the emotion. And here's what matters most. You didn't consciously choose your filter. It was built automatically from experiences you had before you even knew you were building it, before you had the awareness to question whether those early conclusions were actually true. Take a moment right now and think about something that's been bothering you lately, something that keeps circling back in your mind. Got it? Now, strip away all the story. Remove the interpretation. Take away all the meaning you've assigned to it. What's the actual trigger at the raw data level? What literally happened before your filter got involved? When you do this honestly, you'll notice something surprising. The raw event is usually pretty simple, often completely neutral, maybe even smaller than you realized. It's all the meaning your filter added, all that step 2 processing that made it feel unbearable. This is the difference between what happens and what you make it mean. The trigger is just information. The suffering comes from the filter. Here's what makes this so powerful. Most people try to change their reality by controlling the triggers. They avoid certain people, dodge difficult conversations, try to make everything in their external world line up perfectly. They think if they can just prevent bad things from happening, they'll finally feel okay. But that's backwards. The trigger isn't creating your suffering. Your filter is creating your suffering. This is why 2 people can experience the exact same trigger and have completely opposite responses. Same words spoken, same event unfolding. But one person's filter interprets it as rejection, while another's interprets it as freedom. One filter sees threat, while another sees opportunity. Different filters, different realities. When you understand this deeply, you stop trying to control an uncontrollable world and start working with the only thing you actually have power over: your filter. And what becomes clear is this: your filter isn't fixed. It's not who you are. It's just a pattern your mind learned to run automatically based on old data. Most of your filters were installed when you were young, before you could question them, before you understood you had a choice. Every time you catch your filter running, you have a choice. You can let it dictate your response like it always has. Or you can pause and ask, is this filter seeing clearly? Is this old interpretation still true? What happens if I question what my filter is telling me this trigger means? The people who seem naturally at peace aren't dealing with better triggers. They've just learned to update their filters. They've learned to question the automatic meanings their mind assigns to events. So how do you actually work with your filter? It starts with recognition. Throughout your day, start noticing the difference between the trigger and your filter's interpretation of that trigger. This distinction alone will change your life. When something happens that creates a strong reaction in you, pause and ask yourself, what's the actual trigger here? And what is my filter adding to it? Am I responding to what literally happened? Or am I responding to what my filter decided it means? If you notice you're responding to your filter's interpretation rather than the trigger itself, gently question it. Ask, is this meaning actually true? Or is this an old pattern my filter learned years ago? This isn't about forcing yourself to think positively or pretending triggers don't affect you. It's about seeing clearly which part is the trigger and which part is your filter's automatic interpretation. Here's a simple practice. For the next week, pick one recurring trigger that bothers you. Every time it happens, separate the 3 steps. What's the trigger? What does my filter say this means? What's my automatic response? Just naming these steps starts to create space between them. You realize you're not your filter. You're the awareness that can observe your filter running. And that awareness has the power to update the filter. Over the next few days, you'll start catching your filter in action. You'll notice when it's adding meaning that isn't necessarily true, when it's running old interpretations on new triggers. Each time you catch it happening, you're rewiring decades of automatic patterns. This isn't instant, but it's powerful. Every moment you choose to question your filter, instead of blindly trusting it, you're literally changing how you experience reality. You already have everything you need. The work isn't about fixing your triggers. It's about updating the filter that interprets them. If this message landed with you, you're ready to explore more about how your consciousness shapes your reality. Subscribe to join a community of people who are choosing trust over control, flow over force. Drop a comment below and share one thing you're ready to let go of today. And if someone you know needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes the right message at the right time changes everything.